Hello everybody and welcome to my monthly look ahead at the light novels that will be releasing in English next month. That month being November of 2017. There are 16 light novels releasing in November, and we have 4 brand new series that are going to be premiering, and then we have 1 brand new spin-off of an existing popular series that's going to be premiering. So there's 5 brand new series starting in November alone. It's going to be a huge month. And what's crazy is it sounds like December is probably going to be even bigger. A couple of things. So for whatever reason, Yen on this month, they did not update the synopsis or the blurbs for any of their titles that are not brand new number 1s. All they had was like last month's or the last volume's blurb on there. So there'll be slightly less blurbs than normal at the end of the video. As always, I will read the synopsis and if any new volume number 1s. I will leave later volumes till the end of the video, so if you want to skip spoilers, you can. In the description down below, I will have a timestamp, so if you do want to hear the synopsis of any particular one, you can skip ahead, so you can avoid any other spoilers. And of course, if you want to pre-order any of these books, or you're watching this video sometime in November, and some of these books have already released, yeah, I've got links to Amazon.com where you can purchase those books down in the description down below. So, with that all said, let's get into the light novels. On November 1st, coming out from J-Novel Club, we have volume number 3 of Demon King Daimaou. This one, a sort of magical battle high school type series. The main protagonist shows up at this magical high school, convinced that he is going to become an incredible magician who's going to help make the world a better place, and is told that his future profession is actually going to be Demon King, which pretty much makes him the enemy of everybody in the school. I read the first one of this. It was pretty good. I mean, it wasn't, the first volume I wouldn't say grabbed me like in a way that I couldn't help but read more of it, but I'm still really kind of intrigued by the whole prospect of somebody who walks in thinking one thing as a hero, and then how do they cope now that pretty much everything they seem to do seems to be directing them towards this whole idea of becoming a Demon King. So one of those series that I'm still on the fence about how much more I'll read, but thankfully I'm not too far behind, only volume number 3 coming out for that one. On November 2nd, from J-Novel Club as well, we have volume number 5 of Pain to Win in a VRMMO. Again, it is a VRMMO type based series, so characters jacking their consciousness into a... Wow, that sounded really bad, but putting their consciousness into a video game. And this one, it's not like Sword Art Online where it's like game to the death or they get trapped in a game world or whatever. It's the main point of this series, really, at least the first volume that I read, was the whole conflict or sort of this, idea that you have gamers who have the money and resources to buy their way to the top, and then you have the gamers who grind their way to the top because they don't have that money. And sort of the conflict between those different ideologies. There was actually some pretty good points to that series. It's just, unfortunately, again, I can't read everything. I really wish I could. I keep thinking if I could just find a way to quit my job and just read a light novel a day, I'd actually be able to keep up. On November 4th, we have, again, from J-Novel Club. In fact, they have 2 novels coming out on November 4th. The first one is Volume 2 of Clockwork Planet. This one, of course, is partially written by Yu Kamiya of No Game, No Life fame. I read the first volume. It was cool. Like, I liked that really sort of steampunkish, like, clockwork type planet, and the book really left off in a very interesting way. I, of course, don't want to spoil it, but yeah, where it left off at the end of Volume 1, very intrigued to read more of it. I enjoyed Volume 1, and I'll probably be picking up this one in November. Also on November 4th, we have Volume 7.5 of Invaders of the Rokujouma. Now, this, I guess, is sort of a like a prequel series, or like this volume. It's sort of like a middle volume. It's like a bonus story, basically. I think it's a prequel. I think. In any case, that one will be coming out on November 4th. I am so horribly behind on Rokujouma that I almost hesitate to try and get back into it because I don't think I'll ever get caught up. On November 7th, we have the first of our brand new series that are being launched. This one is coming out from 7 Seas, and that is Record of Lodoss War, The Grey Witch. Now, Lodoss War is a classic series. In fact, it was one of the first anime series I ever owned on VHS. Like, that's how far back this book series goes, that it had an anime series based on it way back. It was probably one of the early first sort of, aside from the ones that of course came over on TV, like, you know, Robotech and Voltron, Speed Racer, Astro Boy, like all those things. This was one of those ones that it was one of the early titles adopted by the companies that started up around the mid to late 90s that were dedicated entirely to bringing over anime. And loved this series. Obviously I did because I bought it, and believe me, VHS anime was not cheap, not even a little bit. Ridiculous. And we only got like 2 episodes of tape. Anyway, so this one, Parn, a reckless but passionate swordsman, embarks on a quest to discover the source of a great evil overwhelming the country of Lodoss. Joining him are Deedlit, a young elf wielding powerful magic, Gim, the tough as stones dwarf, Eto, a fledgling priest, Slain, the group's sorcerer, and Woodchuck, their indispensable thief. Together, this iconic group will join forces to discover the truth behind a world torn apart by ancient deities and wield the power needed to defeat the Grey Witch. If I recall, I believe Record of Lodoss War, the first anime, was just this book. But again, it's been many years since I saw that series, but I'm very excited about picking up this book because, well, you can probably tell because I have all these really great memories of Lodoss War, and I'm really excited to pick up the book. On November 12th, from J Novel Club, we have volume number 6 of Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash. One of those series that I keep saying I want to go back to and read more of because I really liked the first volume. And I just keep not getting there. It's kind of interesting though, so I believe volume 4 is coming out in print in December. So they're starting to catch up, like they're getting there. So if you've been following the physical release, you're actually not that far behind now come December between Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash. So that'll be out on November 12th. On November 14th, we get a couple titles from Yen On. Now, I guess because of the floods that happened in the US, it's caused a bit of a bump in Yen On's printing. So they've got a couple of titles that have been sort of reoriented. Usually Yen releases all their titles on the same date, but that's not happened in November. In fact, there's been a few titles that have kind of been bumped. One that was supposed to be out in October, but it's now coming out more towards the end of November. And again, these ones I don't even have blurbs for. So November 14th, we have volume number 13 of A Certain Magical Index. Again, super popular series. In fact, in my weekly top 10 countdown of the best-selling light novels in Japan, this past one that I just did this past weekend, the sequel series to this one is the number 1 volume, and I believe it's like volume 19. So, like, we haven't even finished out this one, and there's still a whole 19 volumes of the next series. I don't know how we ever are going to catch up. Also releasing from Yen on November 14th is Volume 8 of Durarara. Still a rather unique series that we have in English in terms of being more of that, like, really urban type fantasy. I'm really behind. Well, not really behind. I haven't read Volume 6 yet. I have it on my shelf. So I am behind, but at least it's not by like 6 or 8 volumes. And then finally on that date from Yen on, we are getting volume number 2 of Magical Girl Raising Project. This one, Restart 1. Again, no blurb on this one, so I'm really not too sure what it's about. And I mean, volume 1 of this series had a very pretty much distinct end to it, so it'll be interesting to see how this series sort of restarts. Restart is in the title, so obviously it sounds like it's going to be a new competition. It's just going to be interesting to see what spin they put on it this time. On November 17th from J Novel Club, we have another brand new series. It is volume number 1 of Outbreak Company. Well, what do you know? Another isekai light novel. The year is 20XX, and Shinichi Kano is a pretty typical otaku. He loves anime, manga, games, and light novels, but his devotion to the two-dimensional hasn't always made him the most popular guy around. What he doesn't know is that Japan has discovered a portal to another world in the vicinity of Mount Fuji. The government sees a great chance to make a profit if they can keep the secret long enough to corner the market on exports to the Holy Eldent Empire, their point of first contact with this new land. The people of the Eldent Empire, though, only have eyes for one of Japan's traditional exports, pop culture. When it quickly becomes evident that government bureaucrats and Japanimation don't really mix, the bigwigs realize they're going to need help bringing otaku culture to the Eldent masses. Enter Amutech, a purveyor of general entertainment that's secretly run by the Japanese government. Shinichi lands a job as the company's general manager, whereupon he learns the state's biggest secret. Now, he finally has a chance to put his nerd know-how to good use, spreading the otaku gospel in the Eldent Empire. And wait, he has to work with a half-elf maid, an empress, and a female soldier to get the job done? So this one, of course, we had talked about when I did my licensing video. There's been an anime of this one. I know a couple of you are pretty excited to sort of actually read what the light novel is. So that will be coming out on November 17th. Or if you have a membership to J Novel Club, maybe you've already read it. If you are on J Novel Club, let me know what you're thinking about it if you've been reading it as they've been sort of simulpubbing it. On November 21st, we get a couple more Yen on titles. The first one is the spin-off of ReZero. This one, ReZero, Starting Life in Another World, EX, volume number 1. Again, this one, they didn't really have much in the way of a description about it. So this volume is The Dream the Lion King Saw, which explores the background and motivations of Crush Karsten and Felix Argyle, plus giving more on the Lugunica royal election. So sort of a background on those characters, maybe sort of showing what their motivations are and why they have these certain ideals that they do, which we've just actually seen in the main series. And we're going to be seeing more of them in November as well. Well, actually, no, this month, October, like in another week, I guess. Volume number 5 is coming out of ReZero, and it sort of features those characters more. So, good timing, Yanon, good timing. They also have a brand new series coming out that same date, which is volume number 1 of So I'm a Spider. So what? I used to be a normal high school girl, but in the blink of an eye, I woke up in a place I've never seen before, and I was reborn as a spider? How could something that's nothing more than a tiny spider, that's me, possibly survive in literally the worst dungeon ever? Are there no rules? There should be some rules. Who the hell is responsible for this? Show your face. So, of course I'm picking this up because I, generally try to pick up brand new volume number 1s and review at least one volume of each series. I was a little on this one. I thought, oh my god, this sounds hokey. But actually a few of you have come out and said it's pretty decent. In fact, again, on the top 10 this past weekend, the volume, I believe it was 7 of this series, was in the top 10 best-selling Japanese light novels list, and a number of you came out and said that you've read either the web novel or some translations, and that surprisingly it's a half-decent series, so maybe, we'll see. Fingers crossed that it's decent. Also on this date is the one that was delayed from October, which is the side story of Your Name. And this is another side, Earthbound. So I talked about this in the October video because it was supposed to be coming out in October, but of course it did not. So this one is a side story. It's kind of taking a look at what's happening to Mitsuha from her friends and family's point of view. If you're a big fan of Your Name, it's probably, well, I mean, it's almost definitely going to be a pickup, I would think, for you, just to get that sort of different viewpoint on the story. I don't necessarily think that it really changes anything. It's just kind of getting a little bit more about what was happening with her while, you know, she was switching places. So that's supposed to be coming out. Probably will come out. I'm thinking it got delayed because it was the only title that was going to be printed as a hardcover. That the format probably is what's pushed it back. So that will be now coming out on the 21st of November. On November 25th, we have volume number 6 of I Saved Too Many Girls and Caused the Apocalypse. You know what? I read the first volume of this, and there was some clever stuff in it. And I mean, you want to talk about taking harem stuff to an extreme. The whole idea that a lead character, by saving girls and creating a harem, is actually leading to the apocalypse. It was fun. You know what? Again, one of those series that I thought when I read it, I was like, you know, I would read more of this, and then I just never have for some reason. Anyway, so volume number 6 will be coming out November 25th. On November 28th, from Vertical, we have the next phase in the Monogatari series, which is Neko Monogatari, Black Cat Tale. So this one, I believe, is what finally is going to tell us the story of what happened to Hanakawa during Golden Week. This is that story that has been alluded to numerous times throughout the 3 books of Bakemonogatari, and we're finally going to see what happens during Golden Week. And then finally on November 28th, from Yen on, like I said, they spaced things out. New series, well, kind of a new series. It's a sequel series, and that is volume number 1 of Wolf and Parchment. This one being the sequel series to Spice and Wolf. The young man, Cole, dreams of one day joining the holy clergy and departs on a journey from the bathhouse, the Spice and Wolf Inn, owned by his savior, Lawrence. The Winfiel Kingdom's prince has invited him to help correct the sins of the church. But as his travels begin, Cole discovers in his luggage a young girl with a wolf's ears and tail named Miyuri, who's stowed away for the ride. In the past, Cole had accompanied the wise wolf Holo and the traveling merchant Lawrence on their own wanderings, eventually growing up alongside their daughter Miyuri as siblings. But as Cole prepared to set off, Miyuri opposed his departure, and so she secretly ran away from home to join him. This is the story of Wolf and Parchment and the pair's travels that will someday change the world. And there you go. Those are your light novels that are coming out in November of 2017. I will now read the blurbs that we have for the ongoing series. Again, if you don't want any spoilers, you can stop the video now. And if there's a particular blurb you want to hear, you can click on the timestamp in the description down below. And as I said earlier, if you want to pick up any of these books, I do have links for Amazon.com that you can click on as well. Anything you buy through those links earns me a couple of pennies that I can then turn around and buy more books to review here on the channel. So, starting right back again at November 1st with Volume 3 of Demon King Daimaou. Akuto Sai and his classmates are off on a school seaside retreat, But even here, he cannot escape the looming prediction that he will become the Demon King. The island they travel to has a legend about a hero who will defeat the Demon King. Could it be true? And to make things even more complicated, why is the normally cheerful Hiroshi so bitter about his family? And even stranger, why is Korone suddenly trying to seduce Akuto? So much for a quiet, ordinary school life. November 2nd, Volume 5 of Pain to Win in a VRMMO. Ichiro's account has been hacked, and it's going on a rampage. While Iris, Kirschwasser, and other players inside the game work together to try to restrain one of its most powerful avatars, Ichiro, Asuha, and Sarah in the real world must work with the game's developers to figure out who could have done this, and why they can't be stopped through normal means. When a, not very, beloved avatar is turned to more chaotic evil, the whole Naro fan community unites. November 4th, Volume 2 of Clockwork Planet. The Earth had died, and its entirety had been reconstructed with clockwork. 3 weeks after the attempted purge of Kyoto Grid, Marie received a mysterious transmission. She, Halter, Naoto, and Ryuzu head towards Mie Grid to investigate. However, what they find is something none of them had expected. Big sister, please, destroy me. The thrilling second volume of the Gearhead fantasy set in motion by Yu Kamiya and Tsubaki Himana and Shino. Also on November 4th, Volume 7.5 of Invaders of the Rokujouma. After Clan and Kotaro are caught in the premature explosion of the super space-time repulsion shell, they're blown clear across the universe to a most unexpected destination. Will they be able to put their fight aside long enough to cooperate and figure out a way to get back home? Along the way, they'll meet some strangely familiar allies and witness the start of a legend firsthand. Just not the way they ever expected it to happen. On November 12th, Volume 6 of Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash. Our goal is already decided, right? So what do you mean we're turning back? The Dusk Realm that Haruhiro and the others discovered had begun to attract attention as a new hunting ground. Haruhiro and the party had also gotten to the point where they could now slay the white giants that they could only run from before, and were able to make a steady income there. However, due to the actions of one clan, the danger level in the Dusk Realm rises dramatically. Meanwhile, Haruhiro and the others re-encounter Soma, the head of the Daybreakers, which they had joined before, and are slowly but surely dragged into taking part in a large-scale mission involving multiple clans. When he fights alongside these powerful volunteer soldiers, what will Haruhiro see, and what will he think? Again, I don't have blurbs, but as a reminder, November 14th, Volume 13 of A Certain Magical Index, Volume 8 of Durarara, and Volume 2 of Magical Girl Raising Project, Restart Number 1. November 25th, Volume Number 6 of I Saved Too Many Girls and Caused the Apocalypse. Rekka finds out Leia is sleeping in the ocean every night and suggests she get a job. Leia doesn't know a thing about how the human world works. Can Rekka help her? In addition to his romantic comedy story with Leia, there's also a cute older girl who asks him to join her club, a student council president who wants to catch a ghost, and a date with Hibiki. November 28th, Neko Monogatari Black, Cattail. Following up on the high note of family ties on which the previous installment concluded, but preceding it chronologically, we find Araragi and his little sister, Tsuhiki, the heroine of the last volume, in full sibling rivalry mode as they bicker about love. The conversation that cannot end unfolds in its unabashed original glory herein. Like Kitsu Monogatari, which delved into our narrator's disastrous spring break, Cattail, Black, is a prequel about another catastrophe, mentioned often, yet never recounted even in a foregoing chapter dedicated to Miss H, namely, the model student's rampage over Golden Week, a string of holidays starting at the end of April. Closing out what has come to be known as the first season of the series, this episode of Gatari, as rich as ever in silly banter and poignant profundities, richer than usual in snide meta-comments about the anime, will make you laugh and cry, or just put a grown-up smile on your face, maybe, but is guaranteed to stay with you forever. And those are all of the light novels releasing in November. So if you love light novels and you are new to the channel, you may want to subscribe. I do 2 to 3 reviews every single week, as well as a weekly countdown of the top 10 best-selling light novels in Japan, and I also do this type of video once a month. Thank you all for joining me in this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.